Hello, I'm Mel Kreilein. I'm a freelance creative director living in Miami Beach, Florida.
What's your favorite car brand, Mel?
That's easy. It's BMW. I've owned two now, and yeah, that's probably my brand of choice, I would suppose.
I understand you had a close call in your car recently. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, I was actually coming back from my brother-in-law's house in New Smyrna Beach, which is north of here about 3.5 hours. It was Labor Day weekend. It was a great weekend with family and friends, and I was on the way home and hit an overpass. It had just been raining, and the car actually hydroplaned off of the overpass through the median, and luckily a guardrail caught me. Ended up flipping the car a couple times, but luckily the safety of the car kept me intact and my dog intact. Luckily my wife wasn't with me at the time. And it was pretty scary, but the car definitely held together, helped me quite well.
So you ended up buying another BMW?
I did. We looked at several different brands, and ultimately I thought, I've always liked BMW so much. I grew up with an uncle who had one, so it was kind of like my dream car as a child, and after the accident it was kind of a no-brainer just to get another one. I wanted an M Coupe, which was too much car for my wife and I, and so we ended up getting a 335i sedan, which is more of a family car for us, and to be able to carry friends and family when they're in town, around town, so that was probably the best buy for us.
So you like other brands as well as BMW?
I do, but I'm not necessarily a car junkie like you, perhaps. I do love cars, and I do love German engineering, and I'm kind of a fan of Porsche as well. I don't know if I could say that I had to have a different type of a car or brand, what it would be necessarily. I like the Porsche 911. My uncle had one of those, so I'm kind of fond of that. Beyond that, there are so many brands to choose from these days that I don't know what I'd really pick beyond BMW. If I get a new car, it'll probably be an M3 Coupe again, like I said earlier, because if we get two cars for our family, I'll give Carolyn the four-door sedan and I'll keep the Coupe. Everybody wins.
Do you miss any of the American brands that have been shelved, like Hummer, Pontiac, or Oldsmobile?
Definitely not Hummer. Never been a fan for a variety of reasons. My dad was a Chevy guy growing up, so we had a lot of Chevys in our family and GM cars as well. So again, I'm more of a, I don't know, I've always liked cars from other countries, I guess because I thought they were always built better than American cars. That's not always the case. I know it's kind of a misnomer, but would I ever own one? I'm not sure. Some of the new cars today, well, I can't necessarily recite anyone specifically. There are some nice American cars being made, so who knows, in the future perhaps.
Do you think the Japan crisis will affect the automotive industry in general?
I think it has to. I mean, definitely between the two countries and their trade agreement, I'm assuming that a lot of cars are traded back and forth, as well as probably a lot of parts and other materials that are traded back and forth. So, while I don't know the specifics of it, I'm sure that there is something that's going to happen with it, yeah.
What was your first car?
My first car, it was actually my first truck, and it was my dad's truck. It was a Chevy short bed, like circa 19, like, I don't know, 78 or so, and I rode that from home to high school and back. It was a fun little ride. Unfortunately, Dad didn't teach me how to change the oil at the time, so I remember quite well driving over a pair of railroad tracks one day, and the truck actually locked up, and a couple $1,000s later we got it fixed, and I learned my lesson about how to maintain a car properly.
What was your worst car dealership experience?
Worst car dealership? Let me think back. I mean, I've owned a Nissan in the past, and the Nissan dealerships were pretty good about servicing your car. And then from that point, for the last 10 plus years, I've had a BMW, and so you take it to BMW to get it serviced, and you kind of expect a certain level of customer service there, and I think for the most part I've always gotten that, so which is reassuring as well.
What do you think of the green movement in the automotive industry?
I think it's a good one. It's off to a pretty slow start. I think people have to really desire it and want it to happen, and call on government to really, help enforce it, perhaps. Although I'd probably make a lot of people mad as well. So it's kind of a catch-22. I think it's good to. I think it's really important that we do it. Honestly, we can't depend on oil and gas and natural resources forever, and I think it'll be good to create another type of transportation that our hungry thirst for driving in America, is fulfilled. So it's got to be something that can get us around for a lot cheaper than what we're doing right now. I know the Prius had a really good start. It's probably the one that people think of most when they think of alternative means of driving. There are others. I think Coda's one as well. But it's off to a slow start until big business gets behind it. It's going to be off to a really slow start in general.
Do you support a gas tax hike?
Gas tax hike? Man, that would affect so many people. Thinking about small business there, I guess, specifically. Small business guy just can't afford too much fluctuation between, gas prices. And if you jack it up even higher, it really hurt them, unless you can give some sort of tax incentives to the small businesses so they don't actually have to incur all those costs, perhaps. I think it might help force many Americans who are very wasteful with how they drive to slow them down perhaps a little bit. It may not, but it might.
EV, hybrid, diesel, or petrol?
I'm going to say hybrid for now because I think that's it's bridging the gap. I think diesel is certainly a good alternative, although the mindset of most people is still back in the 70s when they were dirty and smoky and it was your grandpa's diesel, and it threw out a lot of soot and so forth. But today's diesel cars are super clean, they're super efficient, and I think it's just a matter of the public getting more of an understanding about what those cars are about. But I think in the long run as well, if you can get a hybrid in people's hands, I think that might be the first step into doing a completely electric car in the future.
Are you into supercars at all?
For the most part, no. I think they're too ostentatious and too over the top. And, yeah, I would say no. I'll leave it at that.
Are you into classic cars at all?
Not so much. I do like some of the old Mercedes convertibles. But yeah, I'm not necessarily a classic junkie by nature. Kind of more into the modern sports car kind of thing as a whole.
I know you worked on the Volkswagen account for some years. Can you tell us some just pointers or insights or just any thoughts about the brand?
Well, it's a pretty solid brand. They make some pretty great cars. As a whole, I know their top couple selling cars are the Jetta, specifically the TDI they came out with, which is their version of a diesel, which I wish more people knew about or understood, because there's actually a couple spots out there, or some web films, where they demonstrate the emissions of the TDI, and you can put a handkerchief to the tailpipe and there's actually no soot or dirt being emitted from the car. So it's one of those things, again, where people are just really slow to understand that there's other technology out there besides the gas-powered car, the typical gas-powered car, as an option. So as a brand in general, they're pretty progressive. The Golf, which became the Rabbit and now the Golf again, is a super fun, sporty car. One of my favorites in the line. So I hope they do well.
How many automotive accounts have you worked on?
Well, several as a freelancer. My first one was Volkswagen, working for Chris McPorter McGeskey. Since then, actually, I've worked on Volkswagen as a freelancer. I've done a little Ford. What else? There's another one. Well, I worked on the Coda account for an agency in California, Goodness Manufacturing. It's an electric car, so nice little fun car. So I guess 3. a good soundtrack, though, yeah? Right behind your post.
He is?